This video, this channel is sponsored by the XX Network, so I have a bias towards the XX Network. I am not a financial advisor. All investments have risk. Bureaucracy defends the status quo, long past the time when the quo has lost its status.
You have to out it. Two, we've got regulators that are not doing their job. I mean, you've got Gary Gensler at the SEC who, he wants to, who knows what he wants to do. I'm not impressed. In fact, as you probably
I think
know,
he wants to be Treasury Secretary.
That's what everybody says. But in the meantime, he's doing backroom deals with people like Sam at FTX and literally not doing his job of oversight and enforcement where he's supposed to be doing it.
Tom Emmer, who is a congressman from Minnesota, is accusing Gary Gensler of doing backroom deals with FTX. Tom Emmer was an attorney before he became congressman. He knows he could be sued for slander, yet he's telling everyone Gensler is guilty of backroom deals.
In there.
He seems to be going after everyone who's a good actor in this space, and he doesn't go after the ones that all of a sudden blow up. All of a sudden, FTX goes down and leaves people, investors all over the place, holding the bag. When this guy was meeting with FTX starting last March and allegedly was meeting with FTX about giving them special treatment to be a exchange here in the United States, it kind of blows you away that his approach seems to be attack those that are on the edge of this innovation and opportunity, while at the same time allowing, who knows why, because he has a pre-existing relationship with the people at FTX or some type of sweetheart deal. Maybe it was the millions and millions of dollars that were going to the campaign side, on the Dem side.
Congressman Emmer currently serves as the House Majority Whip and is a member of the House Financial Service Committee. He is applying pressure to the SEC and questioning its chairman, Gensler, on issues related to digital currencies. While Gensler has aspirations of being a career politician, it's not likely he'd risk his future reputation over decisions related to crypto.
Currencies will fall, and that puts a lot of smaller by market cap cryptocurrencies under the jurisdiction of the SEC. And I think the vast majority of small cryptocurrencies probably do belong at the SEC. They are not sufficiently decentralized, and they offer, when the Howey test is applied to them, more of the indices of a security. That will mean that it's important that we have a regulatory framework that's well understood, because right now the SEC is regulating by enforcement action, which is not the ideal way for some of these firms to operate.
Senator Lummis holds Bitcoin. She is saying that many of these altcoins are indeed securities. Under the Howey test, they would fail because they aren't decentralized enough. Even though she seems anti-altcoins, Deaton and Jeremy Hogan have said that the bill she proposed is not bad for alts. However, I have my doubts. I'm hearing a lot of maxi rhetoric coming from her mouth. The positive is she's against regulations by enforcement and wants clear rules.
Board of Governors and the Kansas City Fed, all on Friday, January 27th, where there was a movement against Custodia Bank to deny our membership application to become a Fed member bank. Subsequent to that, the OCC has taken action. Now, last week, the IRS and the SEC, there's more SEC action coming up this week. So the notion that these assets will ever be federally insured is in fact quite the opposite. There is a crackdown trying to go after stablecoins, trying to debank the industry, and trying to clarify the magnitude of unregistered securities in the industry. We're finally getting clarity, the regulatory clarity that this industry has begged for really since I've been involved, which is more than 10 years now. We're finally getting some clarity from the U.S. regulators. And boy, have there been a lot of activities that have been, shall we say, of questionable legal authority and jurisdiction by the agencies in Washington, D.C.
U.S. regulators are cracking down on the crypto industry, while other jurisdictions are regulating with clarity. And that makes sense because the U.S. has the most to lose. Enforcement action after enforcement action, this is how clarity comes. Garlinghouse said 99% of crypto will fail.
The real question at this point for the industry becomes, how far is this debanking wave? Is the goal of the Biden administration to completely debank the industry, in which case the entire thing moves offshore? But because, of course, this is internet native money, it won't go away and people will still continue to use it. Or is the goal really just to go after stablecoins and unregistered securities? If it's the latter, then as this shakeout takes place, there will be, I think, a phoenixes emerging from the ashes, so to speak.
Crypto technologies aren't going away. This is a transformational technology, and the USA has a lot to lose. Dollar hegemony happens because U.S. markets are deep and liquid. With crypto, anyone in the world can launch an exchange. Anything of value can be tokenized. Companies around the world can raise capital right on the internet. No longer do you need to go through U.S. markets. Currencies can be used without the U.S. banking system. This entire movement is going to fundamentally change the system. At the same time, U.S. hegemony is weakening from other factors. The U.S. knows it's coming, and that's why it's not being banned. They're stalling it. The dollar is at the top of this system, and we're maxing out our debt before we reset. The SEC has waged war on the cryptosphere. They're suing and regulating by enforcement. While one of the largest companies and largest cryptocurrencies has been in a legal battle for over 3 years. Ripple has hired the best of the best and is in a position to win. When they win, they will have a head start over the entire industry. The phoenix rising from the ashes is Ripple and XRP, American technology that has partnered with hundreds of large banks. They're in a position to change the world through utility.
And then the project that you mentioned with David Chaum, that's really just a prototype for a multi-purpose CBDC. It could be retail, it could be wholesale. What we are really interested there in is quantum security, privacy, and scalability. And the scalability will be even more important for retail than for wholesale CBDC.
David Chaum invented blind signing. The Central Bank of Switzerland is working with him to create a quantum secure and private CBDC. Switzerland may use elements of the XX network for their CBDC. Time will tell, but it's a huge vote of confidence for the XX technology. If you want to test out one of the dApps, join my speakeasy. It's called the Research Station. It's completely private, it's completely free. All of your data is yours, and there's no centralized service.
Why are we here? We're here. Crypto has the opportunity of cutting the costs of the financial system by maybe 90% to the consumer. And as Caitlin was talking about, overseas, it gives a lot of people who need access to a stable unit of value like the US dollar, access to that if you have a cell phone.
The current system is inefficient. When we bring the efficiencies of digital assets and the internet to value, we're going to see an increase in economic activity. Visa and MasterCard charge 1% to every transaction, and that adds up to whole nations' GDPs. With digital assets, these fees can be brought down to zero. Imagine a world where all value is instant, where fees are negligible. We used to write letters, now we have emails. The amount of letters I write is very little, but I send a ton of emails. This is going to happen with value.
Freeze regarding SBF or FTX?
I haven't seen anything so far. It's really interesting that Gary Gensler had more meetings with Sam Bankman. I keep getting stuck on fraud. I apologize. He had more meetings with Sam than anyone else. And it's interesting that apparently the SEC knew FTX was fraudulent from its inception. And he's apparently acknowledged that. And you can go back through, we do have records that show he met with FTX, he met with IEX, which is a firm that we're still not clear. Did FTX buy IEX? Were they an investor? That was going to apparently be their trading platform here in the U.S. In these meetings, there's at least a half a dozen of them that are documented. We did send, to answer your question directly, there's a group of us, 4 Republicans, 4 Democrats, very nonpartisan. We sent a letter to Mr. Gensler back last March 16th, asking him a whole bunch of questions predating this event. These were questions in terms of how he was operating with these dragnets of information. He didn't answer one of the questions. I think now that there is a new majority in the House, hopefully he understands that it's not just going to be Republicans who will demand transparency and accountability, but he does have those same members on the Democrat side who want the same information. So hopefully we're going to have some more success now in the coming weeks and months.
It sounds a lot like Tom Emmer is investigating Gary Gensler and his dirty dealings. Is there some really strong accusations that are coming from the former lawyer? It sounds like other congressmen and women are also interested in Gensler and his involvement with FTX. If there's any truth to these allegations, I'm sure it's going to come to light.
Afford to get into something that Ripple, for example, has been fighting. They are now in an almost 3-year lawsuit with the SEC over XRP. Is that something Coinbase can handle going forward? Is that something the company is willing to take on?
Well, I think the question is, can Coinbase afford not to get involved in that fight? Because the fact of the matter is, yes, we could pick and choose certain battles that may or may not be in our direct interest, but digital assets, crypto as a whole, is clearly facing a serious challenge. And if we don't stand up for the rule of law and the application of standards set by Congress to these questions, it's not clear to me who will.
Coinbase and Ripple are the largest U.S. crypto-based companies, and the lawyer from Coinbase is saying they will have to lead in fighting with the U.S. government for clear laws.
Well, as we've been very explicit about since our life as a public company, we are not a headquarter company at all, although we are based here in the United States. But look, we want to see innovation thrive here in the U.S. as much as anywhere else. And so that's why, rather than picking up our marbles and going elsewhere, we are committed to the public conversation. And yes, in some instances, public litigation around some of these topics. But we cannot ignore that if we look around the world, other governments are saying, let's get the regulation right. Let's create a workable solution to some of these issues. Let's create sandboxes and other experimental ways of adapting to new technologies and services. Let's have a conversation. And at some point, America is going to have to decide for itself, does it want to have that kind of practical approach, or does it want to simply just outright ban or threaten an entire industry because it can?
If there wasn't a future with crypto assets, they would have banned it a long time ago. This is coming, it's just a matter of time.
Currencies like Ripple and all, those are being driven in a way that countries are now allowing to put up exchanges, digital currency exchanges, and to use it for cross-border remittances.
Countries are now aligned to put up exchanges for cross-border payments. He mentions Ripple, and he says countries are now aligned for these exchanges for cross-border remittances. This is Aziz Halal, and he's from a bank in Pakistan called ABL, which is one of the largest banks in Pakistan. Don't believe in miracles. Depend on them. I hope you've been enjoying the show. Please consider subscribing and leaving a comment for support. If you want to take it a step further, you can join Patreon or visit dmjr.ghost.io, where I post ad-free videos and weekly live group discussions. Plus, you'll get access to the raw footage used in these clips.